everyone, and welcome to Charlotte Live Now, where good energy meets great conversations. I am your host, Allie with the Vibes, and joining us today is a local entrepreneur who recently added the title author to his list of credentials. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Sean Herndon.
Thank you for having me.
Sean, we're so excited. I'm so excited to talk about this book. I have so many questions. And I don't know if you recall, but 2 years ago, we were on a conference call with some other individuals, and you told me then that you were thinking of writing a book. And here we are 2 years later with this finished masterpiece. Now, the title of the book is The Lifesavers, is a self-help book. And I have so many questions. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, Sean. But let's start from the beginning. What inspired you to start writing?
So I was at a point in my life where I was debating between journaling or meditation, and I chose to go with journaling. And when I was starting to write, I was like, I'm pretty sure other people are going through these issues, and some of them could benefit from, just reading that someone else had these same issues, and these are some of the things that they did to work through those issues. So that I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a book. And then I came up with the title. Of course, it's kind of self-explanatory, Lifesavers, because some of the tools in this book can literally save your life if you read it and take what you're supposed to take away from it.
Yeah, and I'm such a firm believer that in this society, anything helps, and all the tools and resources are really just great life hacks, and I love it. And so when did you know that this story was ready to be told? You, in the book, you go over so many deep titles and elements and things that we face every day, challenges, barriers. When did you know it was time?
So I knew it was time during COVID when people were going through so many things just mentally. I knew that had a big effect on the world, that epidemic. And I knew people were looking for resources and things to, just get them through that time. And, podcasts were out at the time. There's still a ton of, podcasts out right now, but there's there are not too many books that people can get online and say, hey, you know what, this was a good read. It helped me get through this situation, or it was just beneficial just to read, period.
I love that. And like you said, the world really stood still. And I feel like we're all still trying to find our footing all these years later. And it's so great to have that resource. And it's a shorter book. It's not long. It's not complex. But it provides so much insight, and it's a need. Awesome. So through the writing process, what was your vision for the book?
So my vision for the book was that those who don't have access to therapy, or those who are considering therapy, or, they may have been scared to, reach out, go online, look for one, like you said, this was an easy read. You can just go on Amazon and purchase it. You can read it in your own home in a safe space. And you don't necessarily have to sit around in a room and talk to your family or your friends about your issues. You can start there, which is just a start, because I still do believe that ultimately I would like more people, especially young Black men, to actually reach out to a therapist and, start working through some of their issues.
Yeah. And that awareness is so important. And like you said, there's not enough people doing it. There's not enough people talking about it. So I love that you utilize your platform to be able to showcase this to the world. It's so needed. And so, Sean, how has addressing these elements in the book, how has it impacted your life? Because when you talk about something so deep and you leave your heart on the pages, how does that affect you?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not scared anymore because, like you said, almost everything that anyone would like to know about me, as far as, the challenges that I face, and even some of the good times, is pretty much all in that book.
I love it.
So, I'm not afraid to, be judged. I'm a lot more vulnerable and transparent when it comes to talking about my issues when I'm in a room, because I never know who's listening and who could benefit from, like I said, some of the things that I went through.
Absolutely. I love the perspective, Sean. I love it. And you get to read it in the book. And so, Sean, in the book, there's 8 chapters, and each chapter just talks about a different element and a different perspective, and it really kind of brings it all together. But what is any chapter in the book that you couldn't wait for readers to experience?
I couldn't wait for readers to experience a chapter about God. Me personally, I'm not a saint. I don't think anybody is. But, when you have that in your mind based off the culture that we grew up with, you just I felt as though I couldn't really have a relationship with God because I didn't follow all the rules that I was taught to follow. But creating my own relationship with him, I learned that, even though I'm not, pretty much perfect in what I thought, because he already knew I wasn't perfect, that, I went ahead, I still started talking to God, I still started praying. I think, it's just as important to talk to him as it is to talk to a therapist. So yeah,
I love that.
That would have to be the chapter.
I love that. And I love how open and honest you are just about your religion, about your spirituality. And I feel like that is a needed conversation. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about it, but it is very much needed. And so, Sean, when handling the book and handling the elements in the book, what do you think is the most common barrier people will face when trying to improve their lives?
The most common barrier I think people face when trying to improve their lives would be the fear of failure. And I have a chapter in the book that talks about successful relationships and, professional goals. And it just pretty much is telling the readers to, don't be afraid to take risk.
Yeah.
Especially when you're capable of doing something, even though you might be scared, because you never want to get in the future and always wonder or regret what could have happened if you would have taken that chance. I think a lot of people are afraid of failure, and the only solution to that would be to take the risk, because you'll never know.
That's a whole word. That's a whole word, Sean. I love it. And how does your book address that element? It's a self-help book. How does it guide people to making those hard decisions and taking the risk and making those next moves?
So I talk about my own experiences in the book, that first and foremost, hoping that they can relate to it.
Yeah.
Know once again that, hey, there's somebody out there that went through this exact same thing. So I just address it by, telling what the issue was, what I did during that struggle, and the outcome of it. And I hope that, like I said, if anything else, they could just get one or more things from the book and just use it, because, you don't always have to live and learn. You can listen to, or you can read, and you can learn that way as well.
I love that. I love that you kind of draw that map for someone who may be interested in improving their lives, whether it is through therapy or just self-realization. I love that. And so what is the biggest piece of advice that you hope readers will take away from this book and apply to their lives?
That they're not alone, first and foremost, because I think that's where, that's kind of like one of the main root causes of depression. And then I also hope that they would take that, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're all going through this tunnel. And if you can just, hold on to the best of your ability and don't give up and just keep going, that it's possible. And I'm an example of that. So I hope they can see that as well. Like, it's possible, and don't give up when they read that book.
That's amazing. And in a world with so many people, there's so many people that still feel so alone. And I'm glad you addressed those elements. And so, Sean, what's next for you? After you've given us this incredible project, that can't be it. What is next for you? Do you have anything lined up?
Yeah, so of course, I am doing a Lifesavers Part 2 in winter of 2025.
Awesome.
I started writing it right after I finished the first one. A lot of my readers, by the way, one of the top reviews that I got was, we want more. But I wanted it to be a short read, because me personally, I don't like reading like long books.
Yeah.
So I gave just enough. But in the part 2 of Lifesavers, I will be giving a lot more in-depth situations and the things that I use to overcome certain obstacles.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait for it. And when you do release it, you have to come back.
Yeah.
We have to talk again. I'm so excited for this. The name of the book is Lifesavers. It's a self-help book. It's available on Amazon. It is a life-changing. Everyone needs to read this book. And Sean, thank you so much for joining us today. I've loved sitting down, just learning more about you, your journey, what that looked like for you. So we definitely want you to come back, okay? Awesome. Until next time, we'll see you again.
Thank you.